It took me a handful of money mistakes to realize that I'd rather spend my money on new experiences and places instead of spending it on material things. I've learned that I personally love experiencing new places, new foods, and new cultures. And the funny thing is, the more I travel, the more I want to travel. Now, as a money coach, I know the importance of budgeting for a vacation. In this episode, I'm sharing how I plan and save for travel and a few of my favorite budget-friendly vacation destinations. If you want to travel but you're worried about your budget, I've got you covered. Welcome to the City Girl Savings Podcast. I'm Rhea Reeves, founder and finance coach of City Girl Savings. I turned my life around with budgeting many years ago, and now I'm on a mission to help others do the same. I fully believe that you can enjoy your life on a budget, and this weekly show will focus on the intersection of money and the city girl lifestyle. Join me every week along with some special guests as I share my experiences, advice, and guidance on navigating life and money as an experience-loving millennial. To dive right in, I want to start by sharing my vacation planning process. Now, when it comes to traveling, I like to plan as early as I possibly can. Now, this doesn't always happen, but the process that I'm going to cover still works regardless. I just have to save more money in a shorter amount of time. So first things first, I always like to price out the key expenses that need to be paid for before the trip. And I like to do this as early as I know a trip is coming. Now, total sidebar, I save for travel throughout the year, even if I don't have a trip planned. This just gets me ahead financially when I do have a trip in the works. But I'll talk about this a little bit later in the episode. First things first, price out key expenses that need to be paid for before the trip. Now, usually my first purchase is the flight. I don't know if this is a mental thing or not, but for me, once the flight tickets are purchased, I know the trip is happening. It will take a lot for me to cancel or trade in these credits for another flight in the future. Apps like Hopper can help you determine the best time to buy your flight tickets, but for me, paying as early as possible has never disappointed. I've always found that the earlier I purchase my tickets, the better I can plan for the other costs. So sometimes those apps that I mentioned like Hopper can say, hey, wait to buy your ticket. And I don't like getting down to the wire. So usually when I purchase my tickets early and as early as I possibly can, I'm usually set up for success that way. Now, I have rewards programs with American Airlines for international flights and Southwest Airlines for national flights around the United States. When you fly enough through either of their programs, you get free flights. So if you have an airline chain that you like to travel with, I strongly suggest you sign up for their rewards program. The more you travel, the more free stuff you'll get. After the flight is covered, hotel and lodging is usually my second purchase when planning for a vacation. Now, I've been on vacations where I stayed at Airbnbs, but I personally prefer hotels. I love room service, and I don't like the thought of cooking or cleaning on vacation. And I love the maid service. So I know, a little bougie, but with hotels, you don't really have to worry about cleaning, and you can always order room service if you don't feel like going out or cooking. So I only stay in hotels where I get perks and rewards. I am a Marriott Bonvoy member, and with my American Express Bonvoy card, I automatically get gold status every year. And that means more points, a free welcome gift every time I check in, free Wi-Fi, high speed, much more perks. I also get free suite upgrades when they're available. And the higher the status, the more perks you get. And the more hotels I stay in, the higher my status gets. So I can use my credit card to earn points, which can help me book hotel rooms and things like that. But the more I stay, the more perks I get. Now, if no hotel in my perks program is available, then I like to go with the cheapest, nicest option. So I'm not going to just stay in a dump just to save money. However, I'm also not going to spend reckless amounts of money to stay in a very nice hotel. I like searching on Orbit or Expedia at this stage in the planning process because I get a full understanding of exactly what's out there when it comes to lodging wherever I want to go. If I need transportation on my trip, the rental car is usually my third purchase, and this is only if needed. My boyfriend and I just got back from a trip to Orlando Studios in Florida, and we didn't rent a car because we stayed at the theme park resort. The one day we went exploring, we just used Uber. However, when I do need a rental car, I make sure I use Enterprise. I am an Enterprise Rewards member, so I always rent a car through them. And just like the other rewards programs, the more you leverage Enterprise, the more perks you get, the more discounts you get, etc. So if you haven't noticed the theme, find a hotel chain you like, find an airlines you like, and find a rental car company you like and sign up for their rewards program. Always use those companies when you travel and you'll start to see some perks come your way. Now, once I have all three of those things priced out, and again, this is the planning process, so I haven't technically purchased anything yet, I'm just pricing those things out. Once I have the prices for all three of those things, the flights, the hotel, and the rental car if needed, I take the total amount to cover those costs and divide it by the number of months I have before I need to pay for it. So for example, if the flight is $500 and I need it in 3 months, as long as I can save about $170 a month, I'll be able to save up and buy that ticket outright. Now, if I already have what I need in my savings to cover the flight, again, that will always be my first purchase. And then I will price out and save for hotels and rental cars. I typically don't pay for those until the trip actually happens. A lot of times you can book your hotel, reserve it, and you pay when you get there, you pay when you check out, and same with the rental car. So it's nice to know what the cost is before you go so you can plan accordingly and make sure you have what you need when it's time to pay. So that's how I take care of the purchases that need to be paid for before the trip. The next step in my planning process is to price out any key expenses during the trip. So I like to think of a few things. First, I like to ask myself, do I have any specific activities or things planned, excursions, things that I want to do, places that I want to explore when I get to the city? And if so, how much will those activities cost? Can I book these things ahead of time? I personally love booking activities through Viator. They have an option to reserve the activity, so you save your spot, but you can pay later, like a day or two before the activity or before your trip. And I feel like, again, this is very helpful when it comes to planning. I know exactly how much it's going to cost, but I don't need to pay for it right now. Another thing I like to think about is how long am I staying wherever I'm going? This will help me determine my daily food and fun spending number, and I can save for that ahead of time. I also like to think about, can I use my funds from my normal food and fun budget to cover the cost of food and fun while on the trip? As I mentioned, we went to Orlando. We only stayed for about 4 days, so that wouldn't have taken a huge chunk out of my food and fun budget, so I just used that money to cover those expenses. However, we're going to Italy in the fall, and we're going to be staying for a little bit longer. I don't have enough in my food and fun normal monthly budget to cover that cost, so I want to make sure that I actually save up for it ahead of time. Are you tired of wondering which moves to make next with your money? Do you need some guidance on whether to pay off debt, save, or focus on something else? Get my free Money Moves packet today and start making impactful money moves instantly. Go to citygirlsavings.com/moves to download your Money Moves packet now. So just like I would price out and figure out the amount I needed to save for the expenses before the trip, I do the same thing for the expenses during the trip. Take the total amount I need and divide it by the number of months before I need to pay for it. So for example, for a 5-day trip, I need $150 a day for food and fun. That comes out to $750 total. If I have 6 months to save that $750, that's $125 a month. That is much more doable than trying to save $750 a month before I go. And when I know that, hey, I just need to save an extra $125 a month, I like to look at my budget to see if there are any categories I can cut back to save that money. Or if not, what can I do to bring in extra money so that I can save what I need to? Now, for me personally, the end goal is to have everything paid for before I go, or at least have the money ready to be paid for everything when I return. So remember, I use the American Express Bonvoy card. So I will typically pay for everything on the card to get those points I was telling you about. And then I pay it all off before interest accrues. And that's usually after I've returned from the trip. However, I need to make sure I have everything saved ahead of time. So when I get back, I can just pay that credit card in full and not have to worry about scrambling after vacation. That totally takes away the relaxation that I got while on vacation, and I'm not about that life. So there you have it. That is my vacation planning process, how I like to price out, save, and pay for expenses before and during my trip. Now, I want to share a few tips that can help you plan a vacation on a budget. So just like I do, I want you to set up your own vacation savings and feel free to keep this account year-round. Contributing small amounts of money every month or even every now and then really does go a long way. I actually love to use Digit for this type of savings because they take small amounts of money out of my checking account and move it to this Digit savings account that's labeled travel. And trust me, it adds up. 25 cents here doesn't seem like a big amount of money coming out of my checking account, but over the course of time, it quickly becomes a nice chunk of change. Another way to save could be using a high yield savings account. So whenever you're not traveling, but you're still contributing money to the savings, you're actually earning more in interest. American Express Bank and Synchrony are good ones to use. Another tip is to plan as early as possible and do your research before booking anything. I actually used to always book the first thing I saw until my boyfriend encouraged me to just slow down and do some research. I was just so excited to get the trip booked that I didn't take the time I needed to actually know all my options. And it really does make a difference on what you'll end up spending. Another tip is to try to have cash on hand when you leave and do your best to spend your cash first before using your travel savings. If possible, try to make the cash last the entire trip, but if not, at least it'll get you going. If you are traveling internationally, make sure that you have a credit or debit card with no foreign transaction fees. Okay, those fees will add up when you return. And if you can avoid that, which you easily can with a major credit card, that would be the way to go. Now, unless you can pay off a credit card immediately after your trip, like I do, avoid using credit that will carry month over month and accumulate interest. I never recommend paying for a vacation or a trip on credit or with money that you truly don't have. Like I said, you don't want to get back from your trip and be stressed out trying to figure out how you're going to pay this credit card off for this trip that you took that you really couldn't afford. And finally, do not be afraid to say no or cancel a trip that you can't afford. I know it's not easy, nor is it a fun decision to make, but it is the most responsible decision for your finances. Okay, now I want to kick off with a few of my favorite budget-friendly vacation destinations. First, Cape Town, South Africa. Holy cow, this place is so freaking beautiful. And their currency, the rand, is like nowhere near in comparison to the US dollar. So your money goes a lot further there. Another budget-friendly destination is Thailand. I specifically went to Bangkok, Phuket, and Chiang Mai. And just like South Africa, their currency is nowhere near the US dollar. So you can stay in nice hotels, you can do fun things for a very good price. Another budget-friendly option for traveling is taking a cruise. I actually love cruising through the Caribbean. It's a great way to see a lot of islands. And once you buy your ticket for the cruise, your food and your lodging is covered. So basically the main things. Now, where they get you is if you like to drink alcohol, you typically have to get some sort of like pass for the cruise to pay for alcohol, or you can pay drink by drink, but we know how quickly that can add up. And then finally, Las Vegas. If you can go at the right time, like when there's not a convention or a major holiday, you can explore Vegas for a really good price. And it's such a fun and exciting place, even if you don't like to gamble. It's the city that never sleeps. It's truly an experience. So those were a few of my favorite budget-friendly destinations, but I want to share a few expensive places that I've been to that were so beautiful, but I want you to be mindful of if you're planning on going to these places, it's probably going to cost you, so you'll want to start saving as soon as possible. Turks and Caicos. Holy cow, this place is beautiful. It's totally worth the money you're going to spend to go there. The beaches are quiet but clean and just stunning. I don't think I've ever seen prettier sunsets. Another place is the US Virgin Islands. So you probably wouldn't think this would be expensive, but a girlfriend and I went last year and it was very expensive. So be mindful of that. And then finally, Miami. At least if you don't know where to go, South Beach can be very pricey. So if you have people that you know who've been there or who have lived there, maybe you can kind of get around the crazy high tourist costs, but Miami can be very expensive. All in all, I hope this episode inspires you to finally plan that vacation and feel good about doing it, especially while you're on a budget. I can't wait to hear where you go next. Thank you so much for tuning into City Girl Savings today. I hope you feel empowered and inspired to master your money as you make your way to your dream life. Make sure you subscribe so you're the first to know when a new episode comes out. I truly value your thoughts and feedback, so please leave a review and let me know how this podcast has impacted you. Can't wait to chat soon and make it a great day.